about a couple projects that we have, and then we'll just get into questions and answers of things I want to hear from you. So, if you remember, probably back in February, the board approved what they call the compensation and classification study. How many of you are familiar with what that is? All right, so let's take some time to talk about it. The comp and class study. All right. So what that basically is doing is that the board has asked the superintendent to have a company come in and evaluate all of the compensation classifications and the salary classifications and the job classifications for every employee within the district. And they want to look at that, but they want to evaluate that across the metro Atlanta area and other areas to see whether or not the board is compensating their employees at a fair and marketable rate. Okay? That's what it's all about. I have over the past several years have said that our drivers and our monitors make far less than what even our neighboring counties make. Okay? And unfortunately, sometimes, like I said, you gotta go through the process to get folks to see it a little differently. Okay? But I think they got it. And one of the things that they're doing right now is that they're doing these focus groups, and you may have been part of a focus group. You may have been participating in what they call a job analysis questionnaire. And for you all as drivers, what we did was there were some of you who had already gone in and submitted. And basically all it's doing is looking at your job specification and saying, do you do this, or do you do other things that should be added to it? So when they look at your classification salary structure, they need to pay you a comparable rate to some of the others, okay? When they finish all of this work, the board is gonna get a report. And when that report comes out, that report is gonna say two things. It's gonna say, you know, Mr. and Mrs. Board Member, you have a $50 million deficit in how much you pay your employees predicated on what the market rate is going for right now for these particular positions. How do you want to work toward getting them where they are comparable within the market, right? And I'm just giving a number, for example. So if they say district-wide, there are $50 million worth of salary increases that need to happen, they may do $5 million over the next 10 years to everybody. They may say, we're gonna take $50 million out of general fund and we're gonna put it into every staff member right now, and you'll get that salary increase now. They may say, we're gonna do it predicated on different areas. So for example, I asked them to do operations first as part of the first phase. So anyone that is not tied to the local school has gone through this process first. And that was purposeful. Why? Because how many teacher salaries and local school salary increases have happened over the past 3 years versus what has happened in operations? Right? So that's the issue. So they were willing to do that. So my hope is that when the report comes out, if they don't get to the teachers and the principals and everybody else, they can at least say, for all those non-school-based personnel, which includes drivers, monitors, mechanics, maintenance technicians, all those staff members who support the local schools, if it comes out and say ours is 10 million of that 50, right? Who knows what the number is? I'm hopeful that they'll go ahead and start making an investment now and not wait.
Okay, they don't have
That's the hope, that's the strategy, that's the conversation that I've been having with them, and we'll see what that looks like. But the board makes a decision. Last time when this was done, the group came in and the superintendent asked for the study. And let's be real honest about it, because there's some misinformation that's out there. The superintendent asked for the study. When the study came, the superintendent at that time, Dr. Atkinson, who was our superintendent when we were in the market crash, she used the report to cut everybody, and operations got cut by 52%.
Yeah.
We lost most of everything. I lost maintenance technicians, we lost drivers, we lost monitors, we lost school nutrition staff, we lost almost half of the staff members that we needed to support in terms of our local folks. We ended up taking the brunt of that hit. Okay? So understand, that's why I'm so passionate about what I'm talking about, because all the issues that we ended up having was because one person made the decision to use the report in a not so positive way, if that makes sense. This time, it's not the superintendent has requested the report. The superintendent will use the report to help inform the board's decision on how to address salary, how to address compensation, how to address how our job specifications are labeled and structured. Does that make sense? So the board will make a decision. My understanding is that the report possibly will be completed sometime by the end of May. As soon as it's finished, I'm happy to have that conversation and we can start talking through what it looks like so that you all can get the information. It will be presented at a board meeting, and I'm sure the board will pretty much be public about what they're gonna do in their strategy that they're gonna take to start restoring a lot of the salary deficits that we have across the district. Does that make sense? All right, so when you go to the board, and here's all about strategy and why I'm saying what I'm saying, we're in a budget process right now. And so there's certain individuals who've gone to the board and have talked and had very positive communication. If you decide to go to the board next month, the narrative is a little different now, right? Sometimes you can get a little bit more with honey than you can get with vinegar, right? So whether you feel like you hate the board or not, you can't stand the superintendent or not, when you get on camera, guess what you do? Thank you. You be professional. You know what? Thank you for considering what? All of this, right? We need raises, we need money, we need staff, we need all that. Thank you for doing that. And what happens? It's not for you. Guess who's watching you? The people who put them in office. So for a board member to say, you got people who are saying, hey, we have needs and we need help, and for you to say, I'm not concerned about that, I'm not willing to help our people eat and make ends meet, guess what happens? They get tapped a little bit the next time they go out for re-election. But if you come up there and you show your behind, and we get up there and we do the disrespectful thing and it's just bad, guess what they're gonna say? You don't need to do that because we don't need those employees anyway. These are the folks that's taking care of our kids. I've seen it happen. I'm just saying, I've seen it happen in the district and so what I started to do is try to help change the strategy so that when you go up there, if you're positive, what can they say negative about you? What can they use? If you use factual data, what can they say? Nothing. But you know what? I hear their heart. They're very humble about it. They're just trying to eat like everybody else is trying to eat. We need to do something about it. And I know for certain you have it's 7 board members. Majority of them are in support of salary increases to staff and additional staff to help take some of the load off because of the cuts that we had years ago. Okay? So I'm doing my part behind the scenes to prepare them for what's to come. So the question is what is the budget gonna look like? And when we get to that point, they'll make a decision about what impact they'll be able to make for next school year. I'm hopeful at a minimum, they'll do a 3% raise for everybody. That's what I'm hoping for, at a minimum. All right, but I'm expecting more than that. Yes, ma'am.
can they come and say what they've been saying?
which is,
That
they don't have any
things won't
money.
change? We
That's-
won't get raises?
Of course.
The board can always make a decision to keep it status quo or to make a difference, right? The question is not so much, what will they say? The question is how much money in the digest will they have to invest in employees? So what you have is you have competing needs, right? So say if the district needs to hire new people, they need to give salary increases to folks, and they need to make sure that they have, you know, capital needs for things taken care of, right? So you got all these different, like we do in our own houses, right? We need to buy the kids some clothes, we gotta get food, we need to make sure we get the shoes, but I still got a mortgage to pay and I still got a light bill I gotta take care of. Which one is the highest priority? Well, I'm gonna pay my mortgage first, right? Then I'm gonna feed my kids, cause at least they got a place to stay and they're not hungry. I might be able to carry those shoes a little bit longer than I planned, but I need to make sure the next thing I come back and do is buy those shoes. That's the kind of prioritization and discussion they're gonna have at a board level about the needs within the district. My hope though is that no matter what, they at least build in a salary increase now, because you gotta take care of your people. In my opinion,
But we're
that's an
never on the
absolute,
top.
but we'll see what they say.
We're never-
But I believe that they're gonna come back and have some
That's what
positive
you-
conversation about what they can do, because we're not where we were in 2008 when the market crashed. Okay, our fund balance is about 125 million. If the governor, which I believe the governor just got a law approved where all of the QBE funding, if you remember that was taken away during that time, will finally be restored. It's about $166 million worth of QBE funds, which is the qualified funds for education, that comes back. Of that 166, who knows, we may get, 5 million, I don't know what the number is, but we may get a portion of that, which will help, okay? So depending on what the fund balance is at the end of the year, that helps them in their decision-making process.
So you saying there's a chance that we won't keep taking the big loss?
I think there's a chance now that where we are financially, that we won't go back. Yes, ma'am. No, I'm talking about us. I love the folks in the building, but I work for y'all, period, okay? So I'm arguing more for my folks, because they're gonna do what they gotta do for teachers and paraprofessionals and all the folks in the schools. So it's a positive chance, yes, ma'am. Okay, no guarantee, but it is a positive chance.
I mean, cause they asking us to do the same thing they asking the teachers. I mean, we counselors,
Oh, I
psychiatrists.
agree, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
So.
Yep. We'll get to y'all later. Go ahead, ma'am, I'm listening. You're right.
Really, we are. I mean, we just not with the children as long as they are.
But the kids won't be in the building if you don't go pick them up.
Well, they need to recognize that, though. They don't recognize that, though.
Here's all I'm saying, listen to what I'm saying to you. I have always and I will always be a strong supporter of maintenance, transportation, operations, all the stuff that we do, right? And I'm very real about it, and I've had this conversation with them. If you don't go get the 67,000 kids that do not walk to school or their parents don't take them, how do they plan to get there so the teachers can teach? Right? If we don't keep the HVAC systems running and the building's cooled or heated during the winter time, guess what happens? It's gonna impact their ability to learn and achieve. So it's our job to make sure that we do our part as support. It's the board's job to do their part as to what? Support the support. Okay? So the argument has been made. All I'm saying is I just need you all to thank them for what they're going to do. That's what I'm saying. In the process, be prepared and thank them for what they're going to do. Now, how much they do is the question. We don't know that yet. But the more that I know, the more I'm willing to share with you, okay? As we find out, we'll do that. Yes, ma'am? And then I was gonna come back up here.
What amount were they dealing with? What amount of the budget? Did they have an amount?
No, ma'am, not yet. No, the reserve, what I mean, the fund balance is like 125, and what that basically means, I'm glad you asked that question. So when we talk about fund balance or reserves, what that is say if the district did not get any more money tomorrow, how much money do you have in your savings account to continue to operate if no more dollars came into the district? Right now, that roughly 125 million, I think will cover the district and all of its operating expenses, your lights, your mortgage, right, all these things we need to do, will cover us, if I remember correctly, about 3 months worth of expenses to include our salaries for everybody that's here, okay? That's what that means, and you never wanna dip, in my opinion, below 100 or 125. That's really where you wanna be for a district our size, okay? So the question is how much more money in our tax digest which is property values, right? People buy more homes in DeKalb, you get more money that comes back to you through the tax digest. Those are the dollars that we're talking about. We don't know what that dollar sign, what that looks like yet. Okay? Yes, ma'am, and then the brother up here in the front. Did you have, in the black shirt, I'm sorry, I thought you had a question. You good? All right, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I said something about a form, describing the job description for
Yes.
drivers.
Mhm.
Who developed it, and can we see it? Because I really don't know what's all in it.
How many of you all have made an application to become a driver before? When you go on that PATS, right, everybody, when you go on that PATS and it says this is the job description, that's what I'm talking about. Okay?
We did paper, I had 21 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we did paper.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't go electronically, then yeah, it's a little different. All right, but the specification is basically that you drive, you transport students, you keep it safe, all those kind of things that you all do. All right? Any more questions about Concord class before I move to the next project? We good? All right, so bell time optimization. Right now, how many tiers do we operate on? Three. We do elementary, middle, and high, right? All right, and so one of the things that we're looking at is how efficient are we in doing the work that we do? So we have a vendor that's gonna be working with us, that's gonna help us determine if we need to change our start times, our release times, and how many tiers we should have. Okay, and they're gonna be talking with some of you to talk about that, so we can get a really good conversation going about, and with the public, about should we do a 4-bell schedule? Should we split elementary into 2? Should we keep it into 1 to be able to provide better support for our families? And should we start at 7:30 across the district and end at 2 o'clock across the district? Should we stagger it like we're currently doing, or should we keep it the same? All of these things we haven't done. When was the last time we did it?
Cause how y'all gonna get everybody?
It's been a long time. And so can you imagine with all the new technology and all the different things that we've deployed, how inefficient we've been? Right? And if I can figure out a way to generate savings within the department, then I can make the argument of what? We need to reinvest those dollars back to who? The
Yeah, right,
employees that
to
work in
y'all
the
pockets,
department.
to y'all
You
pockets.
see the big picture? That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to figure out how can I find ways to save money, become efficient, so I can argue the case that if I save you $2 million this year, or $3 million in fuel costs, I save you money in, repair costs on buses because we've improved our ability to travel and not have as many accidents and replace buses. If I can do that and I can save $3 or $4 million, guess what I'm gonna argue? Because we did that, I need you to put that $2 or $3 million back into the salaries of the employees that are working here.
And it ain't gonna happen.
Does that make sense? That's why I'm doing a lot of the stuff that we're about to talk about. So bell schedule is one. We're talking about mobile fueling. We do some of that now for our diesel buses. We purchase propane buses. Why do we do that? It's more economical and it provides us with an opportunity to lower our repair costs and lower our fuel costs. All right? So when you hear a lot of this stuff, it's all about how can I become more efficient to be able to generate savings that I can argue for to go back into staff. Okay? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and I'm not trying to be funny,
No, you're fine.
but we've heard all of this before. All of this is just chatter to us, to be honest with you, because y'all have money for everything else. Like you say, the propane buses, to do this, to do that, but for us. And when it comes down to the drivers, we're always overlooked, and we've been getting overlooked for a long time.
Okay.
So, you're saying, go to the board, say this, y'all gonna consider when?
Here's the difference, and this is why I'm having these conversations.
Mhm.
Where does the money come from to buy buses?
You tell me.
Right, it comes from SPOS.
Bosh.
It's not general fund.
Right.
The millions of dollars that we just bought, 160 buses, that come out of general fund, out of salaries, has nothing to do with it. But this is why I'm saying, why I'm having this very closed, this is a real conversation with everybody, I'm comfortable having it. Because that has been the thought, because nobody, I don't know any COO that's doing what I've done, which is have conversations like this. They haven't, I'm telling you, the COOs that were here before me didn't do it. We have $561 million in East-Plus funds. Not a penny can go to pay operations and maintenance. If it could, guess what? We wouldn't have this conversation about salaries. If I could pay and use those dollars to do this, I could answer your question when, and I wouldn't be standing up here and making you feel like I'm just talking like everybody else did, because that's not what I'm doing. I'm not gonna waste my time with you. I'll be the first person to tell you that if I don't see that there's hope and there's an opportunity, then I'm gonna just tell you, do what you do, because I'm not gonna waste my time trying to be here. Matter of fact, I'm not gonna be here. I don't wanna be a part of an organization that's not continuously improving and moving forward and being progressive. I don't. And I encourage you to have a similar mindset, because if the organization is not moving forward, then we're holding our kids back. Okay? We gotta do better about that. But the money that comes, that you're talking about, that comes from SPLOST. I can't control that part. The monies that you're talking about are general fund. And the general fund dollars is controlled by the board. That's the difference. So yes, the board has the prerogative to make decisions to say, I'm gonna put all of our monies that we have right now into salaries. But when they say that, that means that some other priorities may not get funded. That's all I'm saying, and that's fine.
And that is
And
totally
it's-
fine
and it's-
because,
it's absolutely, it's
because
long
we
overdue.
are priority
Yes, ma'am.
too.
Yes, ma'am, I
You
agree
know?
with you. And that's what this comp and class study is about, is what is the right number to do that? The question is, that's gonna come out is whenever that report for the comp and class study is completed, you will see where we are, where the board is based on what they can do, based on their comp and class study. That number is 5 million, and they say we're gonna give everybody what they need and allocate the 5 million, great. I think it's gonna be much larger than 5 million, because it's been, how many years, almost 10 years? Since everybody, I think 2008 is when I first got here, I've never received a raise unless I had to get promoted. It's probably been way longer than that, I'm sure.
Yes,
before I got here.
yes, it has.
Okay?
It's been a
So just
long
understand
time.
that that's part of it. So I respect what you're saying, I totally understand what you're saying, and it is frustrating, I agree with you. Yes, you had a question, sir? You good? All right, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to ask, is it beneficial, they have like a company come down and inspect the buses, and the buses are red tagged, but we still have to take them to the mechanic. I mean, that seems like that's a waste of money.
They got
Which
money
one's a
for
red
everything.
tag?
I mean, having the.
Except for drivers.
Company comes and inspects.
So let me explain, I'm glad you asked that question. So it is a state mandate that buses be inspected every 21 days.
We know
But our mechanics, we don't have enough mechanics to do the inspections.
Because they got rid of them.
Correct.
Because they got rid
And
of
I've been
them.
trying to hire, we lost almost 40 mechanics when they got rid of them.
When I first came, we had, my bus was assigned to its own mechanic.
That's correct. We
That's
don't
who
have
did
that
my
built, that's the
inspection
problem.
every
So
21
we
days.
had, instead of bringing in people, we had to outsource at a lower rate in order to do it. Now we're bringing in people. So I just hired, last year, we were able to get 5 new mechanics. This year, I've asked for 8 mechanics. So if they continue to give us the people now, then I can reduce that contract outsourcing, and then we have the ability to do it. The outsourcing is costly.
It is, it
Absolutely.
does.
But who's been here for a while and remember the old conversation about loaded central office?
Oh,
Who remembers that conversation?
Yeah, they got money for everything.
Loaded central office, that we had too many people in the central office, and that's where all the money was going. That's what Atkinson used to cut operations. Operations is part of central office. People thought that central office was what? AIC.
Right.
It is not all AIC. We carry all of the mechanics, you all as drivers and monitors, you're part of central office.
No, she did. He told me she did.
I argued them
And
not to
they
do
haven't
that.
undid what she did though.
I'm just telling you what happened. I'm being real about it because that's what happened. And when they said, oh, we can't deal with the central office expanding and adding more people to central office, guess what they did? They just cut us and they left the schools alone. Because they wouldn't have survived saying we're cutting teachers, because that's our core business. But they cut support staff and nobody will think twice about it. All right, it was a very rough time, I'm just telling you, it was very difficult, but we're working through it, but that's why we are where we are. Any other questions? I think you had a question, madam? Uh-huh.
Get back on the right team, sweetie.
Come up with a centralized location where these kids whose parents are not there to pick them up, but you spend more time either waiting 30 minutes for a parent, or
Driving
they're
back,
not there,
yeah.
then you gotta take them back to school. If you can utilize the Memorial Shuttle and bring those kids and let those parents start experiencing riding from their home over to.
Absolutely, they'll be on time, won't they?
Pretty much, 'cause
Yep.
Yeah, they'll get their A's on time. Exactly. I agree with that. I agree with that.
So I'm on the same
Efficiency
page.
strategies that we're looking at.
You know what?
Okay,
Sandra,
so
you got
if
one
you
more
have
bite.
other suggestions similar to what the young lady just mentioned about how do we take the efficiencies and use those efficiencies to change the culture, basically, of the parents and the other folks who we're serving, we need to take it, that's part of this evaluation of bus optimization and all of that as we look at how we improve our efficiencies and
The
operations.
other thing we have parents abusing the system, that their kids.
Shonda, I'm a call you, Shonda. I need to talk to you, I'm gonna ask you.
They've been in the system for 3-4 years saying that, oh, we had a fire in our house in 2001, and here it is 2006, they're still being showed.
We need to identify those folks. You gotta let us know those people so we can deal with that.
Well, I'm just saying, you have 2 kids riding now, that's 44
Yeah.
passengers.
You gonna let them know, Chantel? I'ma let you know, I'ma
We
see.
need to know who it is.
Let you know who
Some of them
it
we know
is.
about and we've addressed them, but there's others that you may know that we may not know about. That's milking the system. 1 second, you guys. She has a question.
That's it.
Yeah.
And as long as they say we don't want our children in school, the kindergarten half a day, that's not gonna work. Because we are babies.
But we babysitters, we're babysitters, we are babysitters.
They listen to the parents.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say this, I've been here for 10 years and I would agree.
We are babysitters
I do,
before
I've seen
and
that
after.
as a
What
past
school
practice.
started at
I
5?
will say
They
though,
get on the bus at 5.
that there's been
We
more
baby- we
pushback, 1 second, you guys, there's been more pushback on inefficiency and waste with the new board of superintendent that we have now than I've ever seen in DeKalb. I will say that. And there's been several circumstances and instances where parents have done what you just described, and the superintendent supported it the whole way, the recommendation for those students or those parents to deal with those, and that's been part of it. I think part of it is we gotta continue to push that though. So as they come up, we need to continue to push it to change the culture. That's the difference. So as you know about them, please report them so that we can start using those as opportunities to make change, and that's the only way we're gonna be able to change it, okay? But I appreciate you saying it, because that has been a deep-rooted issue within the district for a very long time. Okay? Any other questions about comp and class or bus optimization? All right, then I want to get to really. So yeah, let's talk about the Transportation Leadership Academy, and then I really want to just get to concerns and other issues that you have. How many of you all received this flyer or got notification about the Leadership Academy that we're starting?
Yeah, last.
Okay, so
meeting
you
or
remember
something.
one of the components of the, and I'll talk about it, if those of you who said no, do I need to make a copy before we go?
Yes.
All right. All right, we'll make you some copies of this too. One of the things that I'm very a strong proponent on is if a monitor wants to become a director of transportation or a driver wants to become a director of transportation, what pathway do you have that the district has put together to help you do that? Absolutely nothing.
Cause they block us.
Well, I would say that. I think a large part of it, now, some of your supervisors have.
Yeah,
And
they
we know
block
that, I've
us.
heard
Yeah,
about that.
they block us.
Yeah, I heard about that. And what I'm trying to do is take the power out of the hands of leadership and put the power and ability and accountability where? In yours. Okay? So if you wanna be a manager, a supervisor, a regional transportation manager, or a director, or whatever, there should be some way that you can accomplish that. And this is the way and the structure that I'm trying to put in place to do that. Part of what I'm trying to do, I don't know how long the Lord will have me here, but as long as I can make some good and make a difference, I'm here. But whenever it's time to leave, we need to have some things in place that others have not put in place when it's time to make that transition for all of us. If the district won't pay you, they should at least invest in your professional development. Does that make sense? If I'm not gonna put money in your pocket, in your salary, in your check, the least I can do is figure out a way to get you a driver instruction or a specialist or a special needs transportation certification so that when you leave here, I want you to go work for Fulton or work for Gwinnett and get paid 10 times more than you got paid here. I'll be the first person to tell you that, and I'm gonna figure out a way to help you do that. And I'm gonna use district funds to help pay for the certification that you're gonna get. So whenever that transition happens, you can go do what you need to do. Because if we value you, guess what we're gonna do? When you get that certification, I'm gonna do everything I can do to keep you. Does that make sense? So I'm working the strategy the other way. So while the board is doing this comp and class study and they're gonna try to figure out how much they wanna pay you, and my budget, not the SPOS budget, but my general fund budget that controls professional development, I'm gonna ask at least 35 people, how many of you are serious about going through this 2-year program so that I can get you certified? And if the district doesn't pay you more when you get certified, you make a decision at that point to do what you feel you need to do. But I'm hopeful that by the time we get there, they would have already made the commitment so that we can do what we need to do and retain you. So there's an ability for you to have upward mobility and career progression within the department that you all love and you serve in, right? That's what I'm trying to accomplish for you. So how do we plan to do that? There was a application that was published, and if you haven't made the application for it, I encourage you to do so. The end date was extended, several of you came, some of the folks on the committee came and asked us to provide clarity and extend the end date to April 14th. We did that. I'll give you a copy of this so you can make sure you go online and fill it out if you're interested.
Okay.
Any transportation employee that's been here for at least 2 years are able and qualified to be part of the process, okay? All right? The candidate selection will be based on the quality of the application and interview. So you will have to formally sit through an interview. The review and interviews and candidate recommendation will be conducted by an independent panel. And one of the things that I was very honest about it, I do not want anybody in transportation evaluating other transportation folks. I don't want supervisors sitting on your panel to say whether or not you can or you can't be part of this process. So when I said why I don't want supervisors here, because I said the same thing to them. And if I hear any intimidation or anybody coming back to do something to you, please let me know. All right, we're not gonna tolerate it. I've heard too many stories about what people have done to oppress and depress the people that they're leading and serving. We are not going to tolerate it. Not gonna happen. So part of this process is that if you make an application and you're selected, I'm going to personally support you through this process to get you through this next 2 years so you can acquire one of these certifications, okay? There's only one person in our school district that has a director certification. Who knows who that person is? I know you know. Don't say it. Who said it? Oh, yeah, she said it too. Tony Blackman. How many of you know Tony Blackman? He's been with us for a while, okay? He's the only one that has a director certification. I need at least 20 other people with a director certification, and I don't want them to come from the managers or the supervisors. I want them to come out of this room. Does that make sense? All right. So if you are interested, please apply. You got a driver instructor, and these driver instructors can be part of our safety and training initiative that we're promoting. There's some new safety and training positions that we're trying to bring on board for those individuals who may be interested. Specialists, special needs transportation. How many of you aspire to be a supervisor at some point?
No. I'm good.
No, not one. You don't want to deal with the headache, or you don't want to deal with the
headache.
Don't say it out loud. I get it. Just nod and just wink a little bit. All right? All right, so, but listen, here's the reality though. Here's the reality. Every great thing comes with what? Hard work. Hard work. All right, so if you are interested, as long as I'm here, I'm willing to support it. How many want to become a director at some point? You don't have to do it here. If you want to go somewhere else. All right, we got one person in the back. All right, 2. That's it. 3. All right, I want you to go for it. Please do. If it's not for you, it is all right too. I don't have a problem with that either. But those who are truly serious and interested, Ms. Tracy's going to get you a copy of the flyer. I encourage you to make sure you apply before the 14th, and then we'll go through that process. The individuals that will be on the independent committee that will review will probably be folks outside of transportation, to include somebody in IT. I may try to get the CIO of IT. I may be on there, I'm not sure yet, but we'll have some folks that are not directly tied to those individuals who are within the transportation department, okay?
And how long do you think you have to be here?
It'll be a 2-year process, because in order to do it, you have to be in DeKalb for at least 2 years to actually make application before you can do it, okay? Yes, ma'am? The 14th. That's this week, this Friday. So some of you this is the first time many of you just heard it?
No, they talked about it at the last meeting.
Okay.
They talked about it at the
From what I
last meeting.
understand,
Y'all
we've been having this
didn't
ongoing
They talked about
conversation.
it.
Hold on 1 second. Let me make sure I hear this, because she had a good question. She asked, is the 14th the deadline? Yes, we extended it to the 14th. My question is this the first time that anybody in this room has heard about it?
No.
All right, maybe for you? Okay, are you new? Is this?
I
Just
heard
had
about
her-
it when they announced it a year or so ago.
Oh, okay, but you hadn't really had much
I
detail.
haven't heard
Okay,
anything.
I'm gonna give you a copy today. I encourage you to take advantage of it and pass it along to anybody else that may not have heard it.
Thank you.
I gave them a very clear directive to have conversations so that you all knew about it, and to provide you with a copy of that flyer. If they didn't give it to you, I'm gonna personally give it to you before you leave
They
today.
did.
All right?
They gave it.
All right, any questions about that? Yes, ma'am?
What about that?
Okay.
Are we gonna talk about Social Security?
Alright. Alright, so here's where we are. I've said everything I needed to say. Let's take some time, let's take 30 minutes, and we'll talk about anything that you may have that you wanna talk about, and Ms. Tracy will kind of document things that we can resolve today. Alright, so she wants to talk about Social Security. Give me 1 second, you guys, so we can hear a question. Here we go. What's your question?
Okay, so you're trying to get us more money or whatever. What about Social Security? Have you been talking to the board or
We went to the board about that. We done been to the board.
And you're talking about the retirement plan that the district puts money into now, which is a waste of time. Right. In my opinion. I think you get $15 a day or something. And a large part of that is legal and state mandated is the problem. And I don't know if you guys remember, but there was some legislation that was passed some time ago that if you did not have, I think, a direct reporter or some type of reporting structure, then you were in the purser's retirement. If you had, then you were in TRS. And TRS is where you really want to be, because that's where the state is putting more money into your teacher retirement, which is the retirement system. That's a little different. And part of what I asked for when that happened is there any way that we can lobby to have them make the change so that drivers can be part of that system as well? They're still having that conversation, and they do have folks that are working through it. But that's a state issue, that's a legislative issue. That's not necessarily a board issue, right? You all as drivers are gonna have conversations with your councilmen and councilwomen and folks, commissioners, people who have the ability to make a decision about how do they finance and fund retirement for bus drivers. That's a collaborated effort, not just in DeKalb, that's across the state.
So we need to go stand outside that office.
Which one? Not the board office, because they're not the ones that help you. Yeah, but we just finished that legislative process, but you need to find out, and, I know you do a lot of work, I'm not gonna put you out there, but you have resources that can possibly help you, but I'm not gonna encourage you to go stand out there. All I'm saying, this is a much bigger issue than DeKalb, is all. Okay, is that fair? Yes, ma'am. Right.
I mean, but that's what that's not with. I mean, come on now, we working just as hard as everybody.
Right. Here's the question. Nobody is arguing that point. I agree with you. Here's the difference, and I mean this with love. We allow people to do to us what they do to us.
Exactly. Is that,
Right?
can you say that
And what I'm saying
again?
I'm not saying that.
Say that one more time. Can you say that one more
Listen,
time though?
I'm
But
not
for
saying
real
that in an
though.
adversarial way.
Nah,
All
but
I'm
you for
saying
real.
is knowledge is power. The more you know, the
The
more
better.
you can affect change. And if you take the opportunity to learn about the system and where you can make changes in the system, then you start asking the right questions like what you're asking now about what do I need to do to start helping to make change. Don't wait for somebody else to come and make the change for you, because it's never happened.
Hello. So y'all
And what I'm
hear
saying
that?
is that is a larger issue that has to be dealt with through legislation that's gonna require other folks outside of this room to help us get there. And there's people who are fighting for it. There's folks who are trying to help us get there. So it's not a negative thing, it's a process that we have to go through, and it's a challenge to do it. But we gotta be thoughtful about getting the knowledge that we need about how we can make change and how we can help support the change that we're seeking to experience. Does that make sense? So I'm not saying that to say go knock on your legislators' doors and call them out and beat them down. That's not what we're talking about. It's about collaborative, positive partnerships to help us affect change in a positive way that benefits you. Have the right, yeah, you have the right to do anything, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not
in
saying
that
you're
regard.
telling us to do it, but we do have that right.
You have the right to have conversation with anybody you feel you need
Right.
to. All I'm
We
saying
vote
is
them
be,
We vote them in, so we have the right to address them.
yeah, you can have conversation with them, yeah. Absolutely. All I'm saying is, knowledge is power, and you gotta use that knowledge to make a difference in your own personal life and in the
In your
lives of
own,
those people that
exactly.
Okay?
That's what I'm
Yes, sir.
saying all the time, yeah.
1 second, he has another question.
Did the bus driver ever have Social Security?
I don't know.
I don't remember that.
Okay,
I don't
he answered
remember
this question,
that.
because I'm not sure.
I don't remember that.
Okay, I'm not sure. so
I wouldn't,
I won't
okay, you
give
can
an
on,
answer for
okay.
you.
Okay.
Okay. Next question.
You have it as a, they take out Social Security.
Yes. 1 second, you all, so you can hear
Ms.
the question.
Pick is talking. Go ahead, Ms. Pick.
They're asking the parents suggestion for hours and the student conduct?
I think they did that last year too, where they did a survey about student code of conduct. I think this year's probably is more pronounced because it went well last year, because they did get some feedback on it. But it's not just parents, so I think employees can give input in that as well.
Suggestions, but they're looking more for the parents, or if a driver is a parent in this town in DeKalb County. They ask them for suggestions, but what suggestions can a parent use as a driver, why we're not included in that law?
For-
It's a notice of law that was sent from.
About parents?
Yes.
Okay, that I couldn't answer, I'm not sure about the legal side of it. But what I will say is that you all have an avenue to give input,
Yeah.
I'm standing in the
we
room.
understand that, but.
but you wanna
why
take
make it
advantage
law
of
for them and not
it.
law
Oh,
for
that I
us?
don't know, I'm sorry, I couldn't answer that part, I'm not sure about the legal side of it.
I'll send her an email.
Okay, yeah, that I couldn't answer, I'm sorry, yes,
Hey,
ma'am.
Mr. Williams, they wanna know, advisory committee, they wanna know what does she do when she go down to the building? They wanna know, they wanna know.
Okay. So here's what I.
Yeah, it's, well, I definitely know that Miss Ed was on, I didn't know about anybody else.
I didn't
I got you. Let me explain for you. I'm right here. I got you covered. So,
I
we
showed her
have
Miss
actually,
Betty.
this is the
Betty,
first
you
time
on the
this year
advisory
through the
committee?
formation, truly of the
She wasn't even
formation
at the
of
board.
the Driver Advisory and Monitor Committee, that one of the requests that has come out of the committee is to have somebody support and listen and understand the issues down at the GO zone, okay? She has raised her hand and said she's willing to do it, but I haven't given her, as the overseer of the advisory committee, I have not given her authority to represent the school district or represent the committee or represent anybody other than herself.
Why?
Because that's not the capacity that she serves as a driver right now. I have to get that approved through the superintendent. Why? Because the district has lobbyists that represent the district. It's different. She cannot go down there in her unofficial capacity as a district employee and say, I'm representing all drivers for the DeKalb County School District. That's not how that works. The board has hired a lobbying firm that promotes the issues and concerns that they have specific to transportation, education, all those things. They represent the district. If she's going down there to listen and bring back information that she's heard, that's okay. But she can't go down there, listen, talk about different things, because that's not the role that she plays. So what we're working through is how much involvement does she have, and how much does she come back and share with the committee, to share with you all as well, okay? And we haven't, because we haven't gotten to that point yet. That's the committee that we're starting, but she has not been given authorization to formalize that subcommittee and move forward in that capacity. I will have to have a conversation with the superintendent about whether or not a district employee can represent us in that fashion, and we haven't had that conversation. That's what the lobbyists.
Well,
That's what the but they already have lobbyists that does that. The board is the one that dictates that. The board has to do that, and Denson is the lobbying firm that we have that just represented us through this past legislation process. Okay?
If they can't control people, I think they think they can't control people, you're not gonna be chosen.
I'm not following.
What I'm saying, the people they have in place,
Okay.
I'm sure they can control them.
In terms of the lobbying efforts?
Yeah, the ones they send down there.
Yeah, no,
Yes,
the
the
board,
ones they
no,
send
no, no,
down.
yeah, this is what happened though. The board determines, the board actually votes on what their lobbying agenda is. So the board says, these are the things I need you to focus on, not the lobbyists.
No, I'm saying the people that they send,
Okay?
these are the things. Of course, they may not want her to even go down there and focus on what the drivers
No,
need.
no.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. The board has individuals who do
Right.
the lobbying efforts, and they tell them exactly, give them a legislative agenda and tell them what they want them to lobby for. And sometimes it is transportation. Sometimes it is, a lot of, we talked about seatbelts, there's things on the agenda that the board asks them to work. Yeah, whether or not safety belts should be on buses, there's some legal issues with that right now.
I mean, but some of
But
it should be
some-
our concern on things to benefit.
I agree, and what I'm saying to you is your avenue to influence that is me. What I'm saying to you is your avenue to influence what the board is doing is me. That's why I'm having these conversations with you. All your concerns, guess what she's doing? She's writing them down. And what I heard is you wanna know what type of representation can be had with the legal issues, specifically with Social Security, with some of these other things that, like you mentioned as well. Right, teacher retirement, all these things that I don't have control over, but guess what? I'm a voice or a mouthpiece to speak to the board and superintendent on your behalf that they can put as part of that because of these concerns. And so when I finish all of this with all the drivers, I'm gonna meet with superintendent and have the opportunity to share with them. When you all meet with them on the 17th, guess what? Stand up and say the same thing.
And she did go to the board at the last board meeting, and she asked the board
She
to
sure
take
did.
these
sure did.
issues to the
She did.
Coverdale
She did a great
building
job last board
and
meeting.
express
Absolutely.
that. So, you know, she did go before the board at the last board meeting, and she expressed that to the
She did a
board.
very good job asking the board.
Asking the board to do that for us, yes. That's right, Ms. Evans.
Hopefully the superintendent won't say, oh, they just bus drivers.
No, ma'am. I can assure
Hope he
you.
don't say that.
It's not.
That is what he's saying.
I think,
Hope he don't do it again.
I heard you. What I'm saying is, I think after the conversation I had with them and after the representation you all had at the board meeting, I suspect you'll see a different kind of response moving forward. Okay? This lady here, then I'm gonna get to her and then come back to you. Yes, ma'am.
The issue don't have anything to do with their recruitment.
Huh?
Question, that Pantherville, can you explain that big white trailer that's in the middle?
Oh, you didn't know.
Huge potholes.
Them ditches, they got
I
ditches.
sure can.
Them
Yeah. So, the brother right here in the blue jacket said that was actually a driving test and see how many people actually passed the test. If you do not go around Everybody passed. Can I answer your question? So, last year, we got a request from public safety, they wanted the portable because they were gonna put a public safety hub at Panthersville. That's what that was for. After that though, if you remember, I mean, you may or may not know, but the director at that time ended up transitioning, and the new director didn't deploy the folks to that location. So they probably are going to for next school year, but he hasn't made that decision yet, because he just now took over the department, probably within the last couple of months. Okay, so that's why that's there. If we don't need it, then there may be some opportunities for an extended lounge or something like that in this space, which is what I'm thinking about long term, but I need them to answer the question. The potholes under Splosh, East Splosh, alright? I had $2.6 million for bus hub improvements for parking lots only. It cost about $1.3 million to pave all of Pampersville. And I didn't have it, that's not in there. It's not in there. But here's what it is. We did have some money on the general fund, and I was able to do some paving on the general fund. That's how we got the paving last time. I didn't have money to do it, right? And it didn't last, I agree, it didn't last. But I have an RFP, if I have monies left over, there's 2 locations that the board approved for paving. How many of you have been to Hartford Stadium, the lower lot?
Yes.
Is it worse than Panthersville or better? It's worse. That's why that one got done first. Okay, so that's part of it, as well as East DeKalb campus. How many have been there? East DeKalb campus, where the buses park off Memorial Drive.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
We'll work through some of those. Those we can work through general fund. The problem is it costs millions and millions of dollars to do these large parking lots. And unfortunately, if I put the money in the parking lot, there's schools that don't have HVAC that I have issues with, that the kids are directly being impacted, that we have to use the money.
Tell them to bring us some pressure on and fill it in.
Yeah, and I can, there's been a report, and we'll work through some of those.
Child, they can call,
We'll work
hey,
through some of
Sean,
those.
they
But
call your
there-
name, and we go out there, do the pressure run from.
Yes, you.
Okay, I know,
One
you
second,
probably
yes.
gonna be mad at me for
No,
saying this,
you're
but
fine,
I
this is
hear.
free space. You always
I wanna
discuss.
know, is there any possibility that our money will not be prorated?
Say that one more time. Let me make sure I understand what
While
you're talking
get paid
about.
all
Over the
year
summer?
long and
Over
not
the
get
summer?
unemployment, yes. Is it-
That's something that's come up. We have that as part of our conversation to have, to see if they can, here's a challenge though. If you, as I understand it, right now, you get paid through and then you don't get paid over the summer, correct?
No, we get
You
paid.
get paid over the summer.
Yeah, we get paid
So
over the
what
summer.
you're asking-
That basically saying get them all their money all year and then the summer they can.
You know, what I'm saying to you, you would rather.
Okay, y'all listen, hold on, listen, please.
I wanna make sure I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Right now, you get paid year round.
Right.
But you wanna get paid just for the time that you work, not during the
Yes, you
summer,
want
unless
all
you do
her
summer
money at
school,
one time.
correct?
Right,
Right.
because I
You make more money.
I don't feel like I'm making all my money all year. And let me decide how I wanna distribute my money. And then, and see, what really made me think about this was when, the superintendent that was here,
One
Thurman,
second, you all,
when he was here,
Yeah.
and he was like, y'all don't get unemployment? And they were like, no. But if he said that, then that makes me think, okay, maybe we should have been getting unemployment all along.
So let me.
And they shouldn't have been prorating our money.
Let me ask you this question, because I wanna make sure I hear what you're saying, so I can have her put it down. Now this is just for her, alright, this is just for you, there's nobody else.
Right.
What you're asking is it possible to get paid through the time that you're actually working? During the summer, either you get another job or you collect unemployment during the summer,
Yes.
so you maximize your pay during the time that you're actually working.
Yes.
Alright, I'm gonna take that and we're gonna put it on the sheet. Alright, now I'll ask you a question, I'll be happy to answer the question. Okay? It was another gentleman in the back. One second, she had a question. No, let's get to, he was patient, let's get to the guy in the back. Yes, sir.
Listen up.
Alright, you got it.
Quiet.
I know you're saying something about the potholes, but we also have personal vehicles that gotta go through there to get to the. I had my customized car I had to sell, the whole front end went inside of a pothole.
Where was it at? What location?
When I
Alright.
first started.
So what I'll do, I got it.
They were telling me that they can't take care of it, because I'm like, ain't this y'all property? But they're saying, oh, we can't pay for it, but they brought somebody in to come pick the power.
Yeah, the
Right now,
district,
they have to do it.
yeah. So here's what we did, because we had to put an RFP out for the potholes. If I have money, I'll be honest, what I've been doing. This is what I've been doing. If we have money left over in all of the budgets, then I put those toward addressing issues that we couldn't address that wasn't budgeted. So at the end of the year, in June, if I have $200,000 or $300,000 that's left in the budget that hasn't been spent, I go get an asphalt paver and I send them out there to address the potholes. That's how I did the other work before.
All right, but I'm saying,
But-
what about
Yeah, they won't. The district, no, the district, it's a legal issue. What it is that the district has sovereign immunity. And if a tree falls on the car, or something that's on district property that damages something else, the school district can't be held liable. Now, you can sue, and you might be able to get some damages, but they won't just do it. That's the
No, that's
difference.
what you're talking about, like, so Patrick
No, the school district property, period. So whether it's a site, whether it's a bus transportation hub, if we own the property, then no, they won't pay for any damages. That's across the board for everybody.
So you know what, they can tell people that,
Absolutely. All right, did you guys, give me 2 seconds. Did you hear, because he has a really good point. Did you all hear what he said? Okay. I understand. So, but no, you bring a good point. What he said was, had he known that the district property that it was sovereign immunity, that in other words, the district wouldn't be responsible for the repairs, then he would have responded a little differently, because he's knowing that going in, right? And does anybody else, did you all not know that? Because I'm glad you said that, I didn't bring that up.
No, I didn't know that.
You never know that? Okay, all right. No, I agree, I've had it too. I may have a tree falling when I was here too, so that's why we cut the trees. That was the cold batch.
They want you to call your insurance company, you go through your own insurance company.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that comes from your insurance company.
When the bus touch my car, they fix it. Oh, they fix it.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll take a few extra questions and then we'll circle back next time. You got a question,
Bus,
lady has a
didn't the bus
question.
run into your car?
1 second.
Okay, so, see, that's different.
Oh, okay, so the meeting on the 17th with the superintendent is at 10 o'clock, which is the Tuesday the 17th. It's 10 o'clock at AIC. Now, you all should have got an all-call yesterday. Did you not hear it on the all-call?
We got it this morning.
And the
We
all-call-
got it
you
this
got
morning,
All right,
yes.
then the second part of that all-call is how many you plan to support summer school? Alright, now when they talked about summer school before, that's what I expected you all to say, cause they talked about giving you a $12 base salary to do it.
Yes,
Absolutely
yes,
not.
okay, cause we was like, cause y'all wasn't gonna have no drivers.
I'm not gonna say it more than once, and I'm not gonna try to talk over you, cause I want you to hear this. Alright, they said originally, when CNI, our curriculum and instruction people were setting it up, they said all they could afford to do was $12 an hour. And what I told them, you're gonna pay them their base salary rate.
Right.
So that's what you're gonna get, and I'm gonna cover the difference.
Okay.
I'm telling you what we're doing, so don't,
I will appreciate it.
yeah, don't talk over that, cause I wanna make sure you hear it, right?
So I'm gonna get paid what I make an hour?
What your hourly
Yes,
rate
what
is,
your
is what
hourly
they're gonna
rate
pay
is,
you.
yep,
And if
yep.
you plan to do summer school, I need you to
Go
let your
apply.
supervisor know, so I can put you on the list, and they'll go in the system and they're gonna code you to reflect that you plan to work and support summer school.
So we don't have to do the application thing?
No, ma'am, I killed that, cause the application process was causing issues too. Time out. Here's the thing. I want you to understand one thing for me. When I know about it, I can help make a difference. Guess when I found out about the summer school and found out about the application?
When?
Summer school was probably 3 weeks ago. The application was yesterday in the meeting with the managers.
Wow.
Where you been?
Exactly.
Here's what I'm saying to you. But here's what I'm
Nah,
saying to you.
because wasn't nobody
What I
applying,
didn't know
that's
was that
why.
ACM changed the process that you had to do the application.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But more importantly is I didn't know you all were having issues getting logins and all that other stuff to make the application. That's the part that I got the notification about yesterday. I made the phone call and they already took care of it. But you need to have your name on the list so that when I send the list to them on Wednesday, it reflects that you all are gonna support summer school.
Okay, that's not our fault, because I hadn't heard that what you just said.
Yeah,
No.
That you don't have to do the application, because I thought you still had to do the application.
So we'll revise it today.
Okay.
So when you guys get it, we'll revise it today. It's fine. Still put your name on the list.
Okay, yeah, that's because I did the application.
What she say?
Well, she know I wanna do it, I told her.
Did she say you still have to do that?
Listen to what you said, you guys. Alright. You're not gonna get paid $12. You're gonna get paid your base rate, your rate, okay, your hourly rate. If you want to support summer school, which I encourage you to do,
Put your
right?
name
You
on the
wanna
list.
work. Send an email or let your supervisor know so that when they send me the roster, for me to send it over to them to upload in the system, your name is in there and they code you properly. If you don't, and you support summer school, it's gonna take time for them to do your check, because they gotta go back and process you as a driver to support summer school. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to prevent, okay?
So that piece of paper in the meeting that you check whether you want to do it or not.
That's probably what they use to try to capture the information.
That's what they
fine.
do every year.
That's fine. I don't know I just told them I need them to get the information as soon as possible, because I wanna make sure that you all who are interested are able and capable to do what you need to do and get paid over summer.
So is the online application null and void?
No,
Yeah,
it's not null and void, you're in the
Pretty much.
system, but I wanna do an extended, make sure that we cover those individuals who may or may not have done the application online.
so it's no.
So if you did it online, and an abundance of caution, put your name on the list as well. So that nobody gets missed if you're interested in doing it. There's only about 180 drivers who put their name on the list as of yesterday. And you need how many? About 500 to do it,
Exactly.
okay?
They wouldn't get
All I'm saying
invited.
to you is,
That's why they
just call your
went
supervisor and
next.
say, hey, I wanna be on the list, or whatever you need to do when you see him, just do that today for me. Yes, ma'am. 1 second, you all, so I can hear a question.
My question is, when we first, while back, DeKalb County used to do what they call the stamp.
Yes, ma'am.
Will that ever come back? Because my concern is that, some people stepped out and they're at their point, but what about the people who
Just came in and working through.
Nah, who been here for like 13 years?
Who's been here but haven't stepped?
Yeah, but haven't stepped, yeah.
I can't get on her level.
That's true.
Can't get on who level?
Nah, leave that alone, don't even do that. She was talking about me. Alright, so here's the thing. The step increase, I'm glad you brought that up, that's part of the comp and class study. So what they're looking at is, as part of the salary structure, you go from a 1, 2, or 3, or whatever number of steps, similar to what they did with the teachers. And I've asked for that as well. If you can do that for teachers, and here's the other thing too, Teachers go and get degrees, and guess what? They get paid for the degrees and the certifications. Why don't drivers who go and get a certification get the same opportunity? So I'm arguing for all of that. Oh, yeah, that's what we're arguing for, but it will be evaluated in the common class study. All right?
Quick question,
Uh-huh.
on the certification, are there different levels of training, like the study period, like say you do certification for a driver or whatever, is that like 3-4 weeks and then certification for director?
Yeah, they're different. It's custom for
Okay,
you.
my next question is it on a, is it a website?
That's what I was gonna
Is it a link? Okay.
It's web-based, you can go, we'll have classes for you if you do better sitting in the
So
class.
the web is on
but
that
you
paper,
can do
right?
web. The web, no, this is the website of the certification we're doing through the National People Transportation, right? The document that we're gonna give you when you leave is the application to apply to be part of our process to get it. And it costs money, so what I'm trying to do is have the district use professional development dollars to help pay for something.
Okay, so my next question is, when you ask people about the certification, pretty much no one raised their hand. So would it be based on you get so many people in, say like if I apply and it's nobody but me in there, would they still allow me the training?
No, just because you apply doesn't mean you're guaranteed a spot. If you don't fit the
Yeah, they
number,
got
you still have to go through the process.
You have to go
But
through
here's
the
the thing,
interview
it
and
increases
all
your
of that.
chances, if only 5 people apply, and I got 35 slots, guess what?
One of them.
If you meet the qualifications, you meet the qualifications.
But you still got the
Right now, we budgeted about 35 slots. Now, my hope though, is that we can, no, it's just, this is a pilot, we're starting it now. And what I don't know is how many individuals are gonna be part of it. The other part is it's like $300 of individual course to do it. It's not cheap. So it's not we got 800 drivers that's going through it, because I'm not gonna have 800 drivers and only 20% of them actually wanna stick with it. Then what's gonna happen? I'm gonna get thrown under the bus because I'm trying to help support, but folks are not staying with it. Does that make sense? So those of you who are serious about it, come see me. If you're not serious about it, don't waste your time. Madam? You just need a high school diploma, GRE, 2 years of working with the district is what you need to do, and you'll go through, the application is real simple, and you go through an interview. And they'll ask you questions about what you wanna do, where, there'll be an interview process. There'll be a rubric that you'll be scored on, and it's not gonna be very difficult, but you need to be serious about it. If you're gonna do it, when you come in the interview, well, I'm thinking about doing it because I think it'd be pretty cool to do, don't waste my time. Oh, I have ambitions to be blah, 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 and I wanna do this, let's sit down and have that conversation.
Well,
Yes,
Mr.
ma'am.
Williams, you remember from 122, nobody raised their hand, so you can make sure.
I got you, I'm taking
Child,
a
we
picture.
did raise our hands. We don't even try.
Alright, we got these last 3, and then we're gonna transition, so you guys can head out. Yes, ma'am. Yep, that's coming under the ERP, so I'm glad you brought that up as well.
All of these things were brought up at the board. All these things were brought up at the board.
Is the performance bonus coming back, is what you're asking?
We
Right,
asked about all
so,
this.
2 things. The first question she asked is, on your pay stubs, it does not currently itemize. We're currently deploying what they call an enterprise resource planning system, which is basically a database that houses all of our information for finance, human resources, your time and attendance and everything. When they do that, it'll have that capability in the reporting structure. That work should be done within the next year. They're doing it now, okay? It won't be the next school year, but it's gonna go live, I think, sometime in January. And at that point, they'll run pilots and we should be able to get the reports. And I'll get a copy so you can see what it looks like and get feedback.
Great.
The other question she asked is, does the performance, one-time performance for, what was it, attendance in accidents or something?
And a reward.
Attendance for the most part.
And a reward.
Right.
No
So
accidents.
part of what they did last year is they did HCM, it doesn't come out of operations. It comes out of our human capital management department. They did not have the ability to budget for it last year. That
Of
was the
course,
issue.
they never do.
So again, what I'm trying to do, if I have savings in the department, then I'm going to do it. You see what I'm saying? If I can, that's what I told you, if we can become more efficient and I can generate savings, it gives me the ability to do more things in my budget that I do control. Okay? It does. No, I agree. Yes, ma'am.
They wanna know what the program is going to for the 2 years, once they get certified and have their degree.
What
Will
degree?
it allow them to get more money into DeKalb County, or should they take their certification and go somewhere else and get more money?
So what I asked them, because right now we're working with both legal and human capital management to, when they build out this step process, I'm asking them to include these certifications as part of that. So when you get paid, if you hit the certification, you'll step up and reach that expectation pay. But it's all gonna be contingent on what comes out of the conference class stuff. You see what I'm saying? So I'm working all of these at the same time in order to get us where we ultimately need to be at the end of the day. And if the district doesn't pay for it, then you do what you gotta do. My job is to help provide you with the resources to get the opportunity, is what I'm trying to do. My hope is that we can retain you, but that's the district, not me directly. And then I think you had a question as well.
Yeah, I was, just gonna piggyback off of the pay stub, that was my main concern, the pay stub.
Yes, ma'am.
You said they were working on it, but you don't
They've
have
been
any
working on that crap for.
have to talk with any of the bus drivers. What would be a, or
Not seriously like they doing.
No, ma'am, it'll be across the
And they
board. The
should've been
district will have the ability to see an itemized pay
not on
stub.
getting stuff.
And we have had some conversation about what it looks like.
Could have been our own software by now. All this stuff was brought up in the board meeting last month.
No, yours is
We went to the
different.
board with all of these.
But I ain't never heard anything.
Correct, that's correct.
Not like I
That's
had,
correct.
not like I had heard about it this year. But it only come
No,
up.
no,
when
the
people start
ability, the
trying to acquire
capability to do it. One second, you all, so you can hear a question. Her question is, will we have the capability to do an itemized pay stub? And will it reflect what you need it to reflect based on your unique needs as a driver? Yes, it will. It will, but I don't have a copy of the report because they're building a system to be able to do that. The old system, the legacy system that we have, it would have cost about $80,000 to do it. They didn't want to do it now because the system is gonna be retired in the next couple of, in the next few years or whatnot, so they're gonna put it into the new one. Okay? Yeah, so, but but you gotta do that for 800 people.
But I bet you
So,
they get.
but that's what they
itemized
said,
right
finance
now.
made that
They get one.
determination. All right, one last question and then we'll get ready to I'm sorry, 2 last questions and then we're done.
And you know what? You can get the itemized thing. All you have to do is go to the
One second, you all.
payroll people. They'll itemize it for you. Cause I had to do that.
Is there in the near future, 5 to 10 years out, that it could be probable for outside, outsourced drivers to come in or just transportation?
I got it. So what he's asking is the demographic shifts throughout the county is changing daily. And his question was, is there a possibility that with those shifts that drivers will be outsourced? Very, very unlikely. And here's why. Let me explain why. If you go to Fulton, if you go to Gwinnett, if you go to Sacramento, if you go to New York, everybody's doing what? Trying to find capable, competent, and qualified drivers.
That's why we
It is a
need to walk
national
those stuff.
epidemic right
Yeah.
now of drivers. That's why I keep telling you, the board has to do something to do what? Retain you.
We tell y'all.
They gotta make a change.
We do, we got to.
And you don't have enough outsourced companies that you work for, right?
And they
That's
ain't
gonna
gonna
pay
find
you
no
what you need to
outsourced
work.
company
Because
that
it's
can do
just
what
not
Shonda
there.
do
There's not
every
enough
day,
companies that
waiting
can
on
provide it.
Fulton
There's
County,
a shortage
Atlanta
of
bus. I
drivers
wanna see
across
that,
the
I wanna
state.
see them make that happen.
So no, I don't ever foresee them ever outsourcing
Especially with the
transportation, ever.
homeless kids.
Not at all. It's not gonna happen. I actually see that in the next 5 to 10 years, we're gonna have more parents driving their kids to school. Let's be real about it.
Yeah, and they need to.
Let's just be real about it. I'm just telling you. That's what I think is gonna happen. We're gonna still have, legally as a district, we gotta provide transportation. But I believe because the numbers, I just had a conversation with the other COOs in our neighboring counties, and they are having the same issues that we're having. So when I talk about jumping ship, don't think the grass is greener on the other side, because they have some of the same struggles, if not worse,
Now,
than
we
what we
wanna
have
stay
here.
home, we just want y'all
So
to
just be
treat us
thoughtful
right.
about that. Do your homework and do your research before you decide to make the transition.
Yeah.
All right? I just, you want to stand up and preach? I better tell you. All right, yes, ma'am.
My question was, through the year, when they take our prorated payout, they take taxes out.
Okay.
When we get our pay in the summer, which is our prorated pay, is another set of taxes being taken out.
Why you file
taxed
exempt?
twice?
That's why you file exempt for the
Is it
summer.
different pay periods? Because you
I
got
have
different,
no
you have
idea. All
different
I
things
know is
coming
my
out.
pay, it stops when I get my check, and it stops at some time too.
So
So
that's two
the pay that was already supposed to be.
That's why we file
stopped
exempt.
at some time.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. So you have two different things. We get paid twice a month, right? One of them is for your health insurance. And you see all that in the taxes, health insurance. The second one is for your retirement fidelity. You do a fidelity contribution or a personal TRS. right? So you need to watch it, because they're two different deductions, that's why some checks are higher than the other. Okay, so just, you wanna pay attention to that, correct, alright? I hope this is helpful for you. I hope this has been beneficial to you.
Yeah, it has been. Thank
Alright.
you.
Thank you again for what you do, I really appreciate it, thank you, Margaret, have a great day.
But your people who been faithful to you. Well, you know, food like that run through you. Are you serious?